Now, as the fallout between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin worsens, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has called for more help following the deadly strikes on his country this weekend. Ukraine's ambassador to Australia, Vasyl Myroshnychenko, joins us now from Sydney. Ambassador, welcome back to News Breakfast.
Good morning.
This morning, Donald Trump has claimed that Vladimir Putin is playing with fire. It's the latest increase in escalation between Mr. Putin and Donald Trump. Are you encouraged by what you're seeing?
We'll have to see the actions because President Trump has a leverage over Putin. He can actually exert more pressure. He can provide more defense assistance for Ukraine. He can seize and use the Russian sovereign assets for the benefit of Ukraine. We can use those $300 billion to buy American weapons, to buy Australian weapons, to buy weapons in Europe. We can use the money for Ukraine to rebuild, and we can exert more pressure by imposing further sanctions on Russia. We can stop buying Russian oil. We can sanction the shadow fleet. We can sanction their nuclear sector and banking sector. So there are still many mechanisms on how to force Russia into peace, because at the moment Russians think that Ukraine is weak, and America is weak, and Europe is weak. Everybody is weak. Therefore, they are waging this war. The most massive attack during the past 3 years just happened over the weekend. It was 2 sleepless nights for Ukrainians in Kyiv.
So you think if the international community all worked together with the US, that Vladimir Putin could be actually forced into a ceasefire?
Absolutely. That's the way it is going to happen, because it's only negotiations from a standpoint of strengths, and strengths has to be demonstrated on the battlefield and in the resolve of the coalition of countries who are supporting Ukraine to actually force Russia into peace. Because for the time being, Russians are advancing. They're on a major offensive. They feel they are winning, though they are not. They're gaining some ground gradually at a huge cost, but at the same time, they're quite emboldened by that weakness they are seeing from Europe and America, actually, at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the progress on the front line, as you say, is slow, but yes. I just wanted to bring things back to our region. Are you worried about what appears to be an increasing closeness between Russia, China, and also Indonesia? There's a report this morning that Indonesia could be looking at buying some military equipment from those countries.
What I'm seeing here is actually a fact. I mean, last year, Indonesia and Russia have conducted joint military exercises very close to the shores of Australia. We see how Russia has won the entire ASEAN. I mean, the Russian narrative, and basically, which is a Chinese narrative, is dominating in the ASEAN countries, maybe with an exception of Singapore. So we see how basically democracies, and Australia in particular, has lost ASEAN because Russian narrative is dominating. Those countries believe that actually it was NATO which started the war. Those countries are trading with Russia, and they are making it very beneficial for them. And that's what we are seeing. And also we see Russia cooperating with North Korea. Certainly China is the biggest beneficiary of this war geopolitically. And we see that we are losing this war just because Global South, countries like India, like Brazil, like South Africa, they are actually sitting on a fence claiming that they are part of the non-alignment movement. But the main principle of non-alignment movement is non-aggression. And Russia has conducted an act of aggression, a nuclear power, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, which is changing borders by force, killing Ukrainians, and doing that for the past 11 years.
Okay. I wanted to ask, you've written an open letter to the people of Australia. Why did you want to do this?
Firstly, I wanted to congratulate Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on his extraordinary victory in these elections. I've been watching these elections very closely. What a robust democracy you have. You shouldn't be taking it for granted. You should be very proud of the democracy you have here. Secondly, I wanted to make sure that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese knows that my President Zelensky was very pleased to see him on the sidelines of the inauguration of the Pope Leo XIV in Rome. They had a very warm meeting, and I was very pleased with the outcome. And also President Zelensky has invited Prime Minister to come to Kyiv in June, and that invitation is also extended to the Prime Minister of New Zealand. We would love to have an ANZAC visit to Ukraine. President Zelensky would be delighted to host 2 leaders of 2 very important countries for Ukraine, who are probably further away than anybody else, but who have been standing so strong with Ukraine for the past 3 years.